3, 2, 1.
Well, now we're live.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, I'm Rabbi Brian at the Saturday service. The time says we're going live in 0 seconds, which means here we are. We are live. It is December 30th, 2023, a little after 8 o'clock in the morning. If you are on Facebook at this moment, and I hope to say this again, make sure you're at this link on Facebook. We have 2 different streams that we're doing on Facebook, and this is the only one that will be working. At some point in 2024, we're going to shut down the other one. So please make sure you are on this group in Facebook. Hello, people.
Hello.
Oh, let me do it so that they can see you all wave. Here, let me open that window up, and I press that button. There's everyone. Everyone, do that thing you just did a moment ago when I said hello. And
Hello.
if you are
Hello.
joining afterwards on YouTube, or you're just listening along, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. This is service number 195 that I have counted. We started this somewhere in the pandemic, and we're still going, and it's fantastic. I have so many notes. I have all these notes, and I even have them broken down by time increment. And I don't think we're going to pay that close attention to it. We're going to start with this quote from Alfred Lord Parkinson. He said, "Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion." Work expands to fill the time available for it. If you have until 5 o'clock to do something, often it takes us until 5 o'clock to do that very thing. This is known as Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Just give me a show of hands if you've lived this. We've all lived this, right? I'm going to be preparing for this service up until when the service goes live. Just what we do. And it gives me a quote that I want us to start with, which goes like this. Work.
Is that the whiteboard on the Zoom that he's using?
Kim, yes, this is a whiteboard, and I do encourage everyone not to be muted, but so we can hear you when you're talking. I'm so glad to interact. Work doesn't stop. I'm going to turn this now into a comma. So this is my gloss on Parkinson's law. Work doesn't stop, so we need to.
Oh.
I'll take a few more kind of those sounds that sound like you're...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, and just for the visual, anybody who wants to scratch their chin as though they're thinking that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Work doesn't stop, so we need to. That's my gloss on Parkinson's law. Work expands as so to fill the time available for its completion. This is a Saturday service. The idea of this service is rooted in that we have to take some time off. Last week, we did an experiment, and I gave each of you 4 extra minutes. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
I can give you 4 extra minutes, but I can't make you spend them. Did anyone find themselves last week taking a little bit of extra time, making a little bit of extra spaciousness, having a little bit more of responding rather than reacting? I put what my question is right now under homework review. So I just want to see, how'd that go? Did anyone even remember that I gave you 4 extra minutes?
I will honestly say no.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your
welcome.
honesty for once.
You're
I mean,
I'm starting the new year clean. Starting the whole new year different. Totally different.
we find out. Wouldn't that be a surprise to find out that Joe is completely somebody other than who we thought Joe was. It'll be a surprise.
I don't think that's possible. She's as real as it gets.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron.
And we find out that Ron's also a double agent. It all changes.
Ron.
So,
Not a word, Ron.
so I want to go back to this idea. I can tell you, and I did. I can tell you, you have extra time available and allotted to you. This is along the lines of you can lead a horse to water. I can tell you work doesn't stop, so you need to. I can tell you you have 4 spacious extra minutes to use during the week, but I can't get you to do it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you all can fill in the next few sentences in your head. Right? No shame in not having spent the extra time doing it. It is hard to take some time. It's hard to create spaciousness. But as a masterful teacher, I'm going to open up a little bit of time for us to do that right now. Let's take a moment and open a little bit of spaciousness. I'm doing it right now. You?
Doing it right now.
You want me to say that honest thing?
So here, let's do this. For the next 54 minutes that we have together, let's try as best as we can to keep that time open and spacious, with the hopes that we'll learn to use that muscle better and better. This was an image that Jordan sent to me. Jordan, who has not beat me in chess in weeks.
It's been a while.
Okay. Those of you who know Jordan in my chess routine, it goes like this. We haven't played probably since Thanksgiving due to illnesses and schedules. So he hasn't beaten me. But he sent me this beautiful quote. You spend most of your time in your head. You spend most of your life inside your head. Make it a nice place to be.
Oh.
How can we make the space inside our heads nicer? And I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the spaciousness and extra time that I was just talking about. How can we make the time in our life inside our head a little bit like a nice place to be? Let's do this.
Loving
Go ahead, Shmuley.
loving ourselves unconditionally.
Yeah, let's love ourselves unconditionally. What else can we do?
Forgive ourselves.
Forgive ourselves. I'm going to add to that one, Lynn. We can also forgive other people.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. It's on my list of things to talk about today. And then
I like stories.
We're driving with Emmett yesterday, as recently as yesterday. And there was something that somebody had done, and Emmett and I were both privy to this. And I said, it seems like it's easier to be judgmental than it is to be compassionate. I say, I think it's easier to be judgmental than it is to be compassionate. And Emmett says, no, Dad, I think it's actually easier to be compassionate.
Wow.
Wow, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think he's right. And I think I'm right. It's
Yeah,
easier to be judgmental. And it's easier to be forgiving.
One is the mind, the other one's the heart.
One's the mind, the other one's the heart. It's easier to be judgmental.
Right.
But it's easier to be forgiving. Right?
To forgive.
Can
Harder
I
to
toss
forgive.
something in there, RB?
Do it, Lee, and then Schmools.
So I'm thinking about this back to the origins of this whole idea, which is more fight or flight.
Yeah.
And judgment originated, in my mind anyway, with the whole idea of do I stay or do I go, so to speak, Rock Casbah. So for me, it's more instinctual. It's not so much of a judgment call. It implies that there is an actual thought outside of survival.
Yes, Lee, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I think what we're getting at here is it's easier. It's our natural inclination to fight or flight. It's our natural inclination to judge. But it's easier if we can move it down here to compassion. If we can forgive the person for that thing that they did, it does make it easier.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
If you can identify that you were being judgmental at the time.
This ain't easy, right?
No.
Some of us can't.
You spend most of our time inside our head. Let's make it a nice place to be. The same way that it's not easy to decorate your house. Connie and Harold, you just moved to a new place. It takes time to decorate it. It takes time to make a house a home. It takes time and practice to go from here to here. Not easy, but we can do it. Carol Oxen and Missy Solomon.
I think the first thing you need to know is that the Sabbath is the single most important law, and it's reiterated after everything is carved in stone. As Moses is going down Mount Sinai, God reminds him about the Sabbath. Yeah. So what you need to know is taking time for yourself is holy. It's not lazy, it's holy, it's sacred. It was given to you, and then you realize there must be a reason that I need to take time to notice, to be grateful, and to be healthy.
Thank you, Carol. It is holy. And that's what we're here to do. And I think that's why you come to this service. And that's why I am here, is to remind us and to have a community to remind us of what's important. Missy and then Shmuley.
Thanks, Carol, for that. That was lovely. I'm always sharing things I learned in AA because that was such a big piece of where I got kind of rearranged and back to my relationship with God. But in AA, we say our serenity is directly proportional to the level of our acceptance, which is what I was hearing when you were saying it's easier to be judgmental, but it's easier to be forgiving.
Yeah.
Directly proportional. And it's just so true. It's so true.
Thank you, Missy. Shmuley and Missy, you teed me up to where I want us to be going today. Go ahead, Shmuley.
Piggybacking on what Carol Ox was saying about the Sabbath is that Sabbath is not only outside, something that you do every Saturday, but you should have a Sabbath here and here.
Correct.
And what I mean here is to have the right worldview. We are made in the image of God, and God is loving, and He understands that what we do not do right, or not when we don't act right, it's because we don't know. We don't know what we're doing. I mean, really, what we're doing, we think is right, but it's not necessarily right.
Thanks.
So if we see things the way that God sees them, then we can understand that the bad things that people have done to us is because they don't know.
And again, you're speaking about compassion, and that's what we're speaking about. I do want to make a quick announcement because I see something going on in the YouTube. If you are on YouTube and you are not at this location, please go to this location. That's where the chat is happening. And I want to thank Joe for running the chat. And Aviva, I'm so glad to see that you found that chat. So if you're on Facebook Live right now, please make sure you're going to this link. And I'm going to go to where we just got teed up. Oh, wait, time out. Before I get to that thing that Missy pointed us to, if the service ended right now, what's the bit of wisdom you're taking with you? You don't have to answer that question aloud, but I do want you to have an answer to that question. I think we've already gotten a moral of the story, a lesson in. So make a note of that if you could, so that you know what your homework is, what you need to practice. And here's a quote. I really hope this is that focused enough? Can you guys read that, or is it fuzzy?
I can see it.
Okay, I'm gonna read it. Thank you for pinning there. It says, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. I'm going to say that part again. When I'm disturbed, it's because I find some person, place, thing, situation unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation. I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake, and you can interpret that however you want to use the word God. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on its terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as what needs to be changed in me and my attitude. I'm going to reread that last sentence one more time. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. Can I get a collective amen?
Amen.
Amen.
There's a beautiful quote by Byron Katie who said, "You can argue with reality, that's okay, but you lose only 100% of the time."
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Brian, and I have a problem. I argue with reality.
Hi, Brian.
You're not alone.
Yeah, so do I.
You're not alone.
Anyone else? Hi, my name's
Hi.
Brian. I argue with reality.
Hi,
My name's Missy. I argue with reality.
Smokey and I argue with
Mine
reality.
is Paula and I.
Emily and I argue with reality.
Okay, there's somebody who didn't say it, and they know they need to. Go ahead.
Ron, I argue with reality.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I argue with reality.
Welcome, Jordan.
The first step is admitting it's okay. It's just what we do. We argue with reality, and thank God we do. Right? It's wonderful that we argue with reality sometimes. We see moral injustices and we argue with those realities.
Yeah.
Of course. But then there are the other things. I'm going to go back, look at my notes. Joe, just a quick question as you're monitoring the Facebook. Is there anything that's gone on the Facebooks that we should be knowing about? Are people finding the Facebook?
Yes, they're starting to find it.
Okay. So
The comment is welcome and hello, and we wish we could be with the live people.
well, you are live. Okay, the people on Facebook are a 12-second delay, but that's kind of close enough for me.
Yes, which is very interesting for me, by the way.
It's a little bit of time. I wanted to do also talk about something that happened last week. Last week, I told a dirty joke.
No.
I know I did that.
Tell us again. Tell us again.
Man,
Yeah, I wasn't here, so
I told it because it was applicable and it was appropriate to what we were talking about. And I wanted to see if this isn't something that you do too, which is somebody does something and you find it offensive, that their ability to tell a dirty joke, and you don't think clergy people should tell a dirty joke. And I had this thinking in my head about when I'm driving and I see that somebody's using their blinkers not the way that I think that people should use their blinkers, I get offended about that person. Excuse me, I have a...
Yep.
The dog has trained me very well.
as they do.
That I'm okay that your and my priorities 1 through 50 are all the same. But then I get upset and bent out of shape when my priority, let's say 157, is your priority 3057. And I see that we can get, oh, well, they voted for that person. And now all of a sudden, they're off my list. That we agree about all the top important things. They might be in slightly different order. But then we get bent out of shape when somebody has a different priority 159. Because for us, that one is 700. Yeah, and I think I know what I'm trying to say, and I'm looking at your faces to try to see if there's comprehension going on the other side. I see a few nods. But that doesn't mean, all that means is that people are nodding their head.
There's an interesting question in the chat about reality and accepting it or not accepting it. If we accept all reality, how do we change our commerce consumption from fossil fuel mania towards, say, did you see that? Okay.
No, I didn't see it, but that is a correct statement, is yes, we do have to argue with reality. We do have to argue with some of the things when things are wrong. When some of the moral stances are wrong. But if I see a parent I saw a parent pull a kid up by the kid's arm.
Oh.
Oh.
And they might have been a fine parent in all the other ways, but boy, I at that moment thought that Child Protective Services should be called. And I had just the one moment to look at. And I thought, boy, that's a little judgmental of me.
It fell for the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand where Rabbi Brian is coming from. And it had to do with, again, the worldview. For years, I resented my parents because they were emotionally abusive. And the other day, I started thinking, but that's what they learned, and that's how they learn to rear children. And it's not that it's good; it wasn't good for me, but I cannot judge them. That was the only way that they knew how to rear children.
And Shmuley, you're getting exactly to where we started this, which is that it's easier to be judgmental, and it's easier. It's harder. My God, is it hard to find compassion?
Right.
I saw some nods on that one. Folks, how many of us think it's hard to find compassion, but we know we need to do it anyway?
No.
Come on in, puppy.
When I started thinking that way, I learned to forgive them, not to accept what they were doing, but to forgive them and to forgive myself as well.
Amen.
Because I, as a parent, wasn't, I'm not perfect. And I try to treat my children different. And I've done that, but I'm not perfect.
No.
I still can make a mistake.
If you want to know how unperfect I am, I have children.
Ask
And
them.
the
Yeah, go ask
dishwasher.
them.
The dishwasher has been fine for the last few days. Thank you very much. We were away. I want to do a little bit more review, and I want to add in one other little wisdom bit, one other thing in case you're keeping. I will ask in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, what pieces of wisdom have you taken? And I'm going to add in this one right here. I learned this when I was teaching high school math, right? I was ordained as a rabbi, didn't like doing that full time, became a high school math teacher, and I learned this phrase, and I always kept with it. And the phrase said, there is no lesson in algebra that shouldn't be interrupted for a lesson in humanity. And that doesn't just go for math teachers, it goes for all of us. There's nothing that we're doing that shouldn't
Goes for
be
piano teaching too.
Okay, it works for math, piano teaching, and whatever the hell it is you're dealing with.
Yeah.
There's nothing that should not take a back seat to a lesson in humanity. Carol, go ahead.
My question is, for whom do you have compassion? The parent or the child who's being pulled?
Right. I think we need to have compassion in both, no?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that we've been focusing on the one who, obviously there's a history why they're doing what they're doing. Somebody's being hurt, and that has to be stopped.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the priorities again. Okay, let me stop there for a moment. Is there something that we talked about last week that you put into action in the last week that you want to share with the group about? Is there a little piece of homework? Is there a little moment where you feel like you did a thing and you want to take a moment to acknowledge?
Here's a Facebook comment. It says, for the challenge, for Margaret, the challenge is acknowledging that perhaps the compassionate thing is to indeed walk away because I may be the toxic person in the situation.
Challenge for me to acknowledge that perhaps the compassionate thing is for me to walk away because I might be the toxic one for the person I find toxic. Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you only gave us 4 minutes, but I took like 2 hours.
No way, get out of here. Done.
Week. Yeah.
Fail.
I know that means I'm not going to get my A+, and we know how important that is to me. But
okay, let me do a quick timeout before you continue. There's a running joke, which is that I only give an A+ to anyone who gets a C or lower. Right? You get that joke? And one of my favorite moments was when our friend Rag says, Rabbi, I'm going to give you the best C- you've ever seen. Go ahead, Al. You took more time than necessary, than required. What'd you do?
Yeah, I was having some feelings, some very strong feelings, and I couldn't identify them at first. So I went for a walk, and I still wasn't on top of them. And I tried to do some work, and I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. So I had a nice conversation with my partner, and took a nap, and felt a lot better after that.
I love it.
It was like 2 hours instead of the 4 minutes. So
I love it. I
missed on that one.
There was this idea we looked at last week. There's a little bit more of a review that looked like this. That when we find ourselves going along and we find ourselves starting to slip down onto the struggle bus, we often claw our way. That's somebody sideways clawing their way onto the side to keep themselves from falling down. But that the other option, and it sounds like, Al, what you did was you just say, I'm having a hard time, let me have a hard time. And then you continue and you have enough momentum in a sense to bounce yourself out of that a little bit more.
Yeah, don't give me too much credit. I was clawing my way on the side for a while, but eventually I got to the other side.
Amen. I want to do one other bit of review from last week. Before I do that, before I reintroduce something from last week, I want to make sure you have something written down. You got a bit of wisdom you're taking with you from today? So I'm going to give us another moment to do that. Something we looked at last week. Here it is. We did a quick review of the basic emotions. I don't think that's how one spells jealousy. I mean, it's how I spell jealousy, but I don't think that's correct. Is that correct?
I think you're right.
Okay, good for me.
That's correct.
It has more vowels than I was remembering.
I think we're jealous that you spelled it correctly.
I think we might be surprised. Okay, and sadness. I just want to go over these again so that we know what basic emotions are and how they work. Sadness and grief is to help us deal with our loss. It's to let the community know that we need love. There are a lot of ways to do sadness badly. Often we will blame. Blame is not being sad. Being sad is being sad. Guilt and shame, those are not grief. Grief is being sad, being mourning a loss that we had. Basic emotion of anger is to change, to deal with disappointment. That what we want and what we get. Anger is often when we don't want what we got or we don't get what we wanted. Those are the basic ideas of anger. And if you've been playing the Saturday service long enough, you know that we talk about getting angry at the right
Person
at the right
time.
Hi.
The right amount.
in the right amount.
Reason.
Right reason.
Right reason.
And all this is why anger and sadness are so closely related.
Anger and sadness are closely related. Thank you for saying, Betsy. And I have found that often, and you'll know which one you are, people will favor one over the other. I am much better at being sad. Better. That's not the right word. But I will default to sad because my anger scares me.
Me too.
And some people will go to anger rather than being sad. Because anger makes you feel bigger, makes you feel larger.
I go to anger before sad.
Yeah. Jealousy is about learning. Again, sometimes people use the word envy where I'm going to use the word jealousy. But jealousy is we see somebody has something that we want, and instead of taking it away from them, we want to learn how to do that thing. Go ahead, Bob.
I've been mulling over this concept of the parent pulling a child by the arm. That sometimes you rush to a judgment, a rash judgment, and that in a given situation where a child is in a situation of possible danger, that and the parent has only one quick moment to do something, that pulling the child out of the way of an oncoming car is a lot better than taking the time to do something different and having the child get hit by the car.
Yeah. This is all very situational. There's nothing of this is black and white. And I think that's why we're also all gathered together, is to remember that life is not simple. And if you think you found a simple answer, you're probably wrong. I'm getting a little bit of an echo. You guys having that too?
Yes.
I think it was from John. So I did mute you, John.
John, my friend, God bless. I don't know what we have. Maybe Tuesday. if you guys want to help troubleshoot on Tuesday using this same link at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I often go over things that we're going to do in the service, and we do some troubleshooting. So we'll see what we can do. We can do there. Fear is to protect us from harm.
That's our
Distortions of fear. Oh, John, you unmuted again, didn't you?
Is it echoing again?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, shit.
John, so I don't smell foul smells. I had a flu a long time ago, and you know how COVID would knock out people's sense of taste for a limited time only? I lost whatever it is that smells putrid smell. I don't smell anymore. And so I have to do exactly, John, what you're doing, which is just, I have to believe everyone when they say, oh my God, it smells horrible in here. I have to go, okay, I guess so. John, you don't hear the echo, so it's very hard to believe, but there's an echo that seems to be happening. It's hard to believe this thing when you don't sense it yourself and everyone else is sensing it. So fear is to protect us from harm, and a distortion of fear is to never go outside. Or I'm afraid that what I say is going to be misjudged, so I never say anything. And then love is just to express who we are. To express who we are and to express who we want to be to who we are. And the distortion of love, and this is a powerful word and we don't like it, is prostitution. A distortion of love is when instead of being seen for who we are seen for what we do or what we provide for other people, and we have to sell off a part of ourselves. This is metaphorical language I'm using, in order to receive the accolades from someone else, and that is not love. Let's do Carol and then Ron.
Why are all of those emotions listed, except for love, negative? We have positive emotions too.
Oh, I don't think jealousy is okay. So let me, and I'll get to you. Let me get the positives. But jealousy helps us to learn. It's positive. Anger is to help us to deal with not getting what we want. Sadness is to bring us to community. They all have distortions where they turn bad, where they're not good anymore. But no, these are all fine. These are all things to have. This, to be human is to have feelings. It's like what Al was saying, is to feel. The game is to feel all the feels. Go ahead, Carol. I cut you off, and you might have been saying more.
Well, you don't have wonder down there. You don't have awe. You don't have joy.
I do now. Astonishment. And the reason I don't have those down was those weren't ones that I had originally done these list about. Thank you for adding those in. Let's add in wonder, astonishment, and joy. Amen. Ron and then Rita. Go ahead. Sorry,
aren't those all part of love? Aren't those all part of love?
I am right now at capacity of intellectual cookedness, and you might be right, Missy, but I'm going to have to muse on that. They might all be part of love. Go ahead, Ron, and then Rita.
I was just going to say, as to the inverse of love, is when I started doing photography, I loved it. I was producing art, and I did it for a living. And I got to the point where I couldn't take a photo without thinking of where I was going to sell it. And I started doing stuff more for profit than I did, and it became a form of prostitution.
Yes. Yes.
And it wasn't until it took me, I gave up photography for years. And when I came back, I determined I am not going to sell my photos other than in a gallery or in shows that people can buy what I think is beautiful.
I love that.
I do not want to make any money off my photos.
Yeah.
They're not a means to an end.
That's beautiful, Ron. They actually did an experiment with chimpanzees, and they taught chimpanzees to paint, and they gave, when the chimpanzee gave a painting, they gave the chimpanzee peanuts or cookies or whatever it was, and they found that the chimps started to paint less and less on the canvas and just handing in one splotch and see what they could get away with to get paid for it.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Rita. Now that I'm
capitalism.
remembering, that might have been elephants, not chimpanzees. Please don't take anything I said. Look up the facts before you quote me. Rita, go ahead.
Well, I have two things that I have on the link for me to get to this service. And one is forgiveness is the ultimate freedom.
Say that again, Rita, because that's vaguely huge.
I'll say it louder this time.
Okay.
This is freedom.
Forgiveness is the ultimate freedom. And what I have found is what goes along with that for me is getting older. Because I find it easier to forgive and to accept, and also living alone and not being able to get out of the house. That, there's not that much going on unless I watch the news. And that's the other thing, don't watch the news. And the other thing that is on this link also is sometimes when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Amen. Sometimes when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Amen.
It's all a perspective.
Amen. Thank you, Rita. Thank you. I hope by this point, I knew where. Carol, thank you for spurring me on to do. I want to have a moment, and let's take a minute, and you can use this minute any way that you'd like, but I'd like us to take a minute to have just some awe and wonder. And let's hold on, pause the clock. I don't want to. Let's take 1 minute to just all sit in gratitude, wonder, joy, astonishment. If you need a hint on how to find that, just look at your screen and look at all the people on the screen, and that should be of help. So let's take a minute at a time right now.
That's weird.
Didn't catch up.
It reminds me, last week we looked at the Robert Brault quote, nothing has a larger disproportional effect than the amount of joy that is given by a small compliment.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm.
And I sent that out last week, and I got a lot of responses from people about it. And I was thinking about that during our minute of gratitude and just wonder of how much joy can we put into the world? How many small compliments can we add in? Amen. Okay. I had a picture, but John, you have unmuted again. I know that because I hear an echo. Sorry, buddy. I feel bad. Please unmute if you have something you'd like to say, and we'll bump you to the front of the line. I have another piece of wisdom for you. Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
I was with my mother as so recently as yesterday morning, and we were at a buffet, and she asked me to get her, and she set this up so perfectly. I took a picture of it. I said, would anyone like anything? And she said, yeah, would you get me some fruit? So I got a large plate and a smaller bowl, and in the smaller bowl, I put dragon fruit. John? Sorry. In the small bowl, I put dragon fruit, which I don't know what it's supposed to taste like, if it's good or not. It's a weird kind of fruit, but I put the dragon fruit, and I put some papaya and some cantaloupe and honeydew and mango. And then on the plate next to the little bowl that I put all the fruit in, I put some slices of heirloom tomatoes. These beautiful heirloom tomatoes that taste like, there was one that tastes like peaches. It was amazing. And I gave it all to my mother. I said, I'm so glad you asked me, because it gave me this great opportunity to share this quote. And the quote is, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. I don't know if you knew that, but tomatoes and avocados are technically fruit. I said, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in the fruit salad.
Oh.
The universe set me up exactly to be able to give that. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. The expansion of this quote out of breakfast buffets is, sometimes you might be right. Wisdom is knowing you don't need to prove it.
I like that.
Oh, good deal.
I'm not always very wise. I sometimes insist that I was right, and let me look it up, and I'm going to show you right there in Wikipedia.
Oh, brother.
We all do that. Knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. I'm going to add in a third part to it, but I really only like the first two. Knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. And philosophy is arguing that ketchup is really a smoothie.
Yeah.
It's a fruit smoothie, right? Tomato's a fruit. Okay. Let me hear back from you now. Yes, Linny?
I love that, what you said about the tomato. And I had that, I went out with a group of friends.
Wait, hold on a second, Lynn. We got too many voices are not muted at the moment. Say that again, Lynn, please.
Oh, what you said about the tomato and the knowledge and not putting it in the fruit salad. Well, I was out with a group of people, and there was an actress, and she was this was Christmas Eve night, and I happened to spend it with a group of people that I didn't know very well. I'd gone to a charity event earlier in the day to raise money for UNICEF, and one of the women who I love said, well, why don't you come to dinner with us tonight? And I knew a couple of people that were invited, and I wasn't going anyplace. So I said, sure. And this wonderful actress, she was doing an imitation of Jennifer Coolidge. And I was in the groundlings, and I've done show with Jennifer Coolidge, and I can do a great imitation of her because I know her.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I could top that. And then I went, Lynn, shut up. Let her have the moment in the sun. Let her be the only one that does the imitation of Jennifer Coolidge.
I love that.
And so that made me happy.
Lynn, can you tell me the whole phrase, the tomato, with knowledge is knowing a tomato? Can you do that whole thing and say it like Jennifer Coolidge would say it?
That's, but she would go, she goes, oh, I love a tomato, but sometimes, you don't put it in a fruit salad because it's not really supposed to be in a fruit salad, I don't think.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you for letting me put you on the spot there. You're getting a round of applause from everybody. The important thing, yet again, and I'm going to have to pull myself in. It's the impression is good, but the wisdom is even better. Thank you for sharing it, and thank you for catching yourself. What a wonderful thing to catch yourself and let somebody else shine. Beautiful. I have a few announcements, and then I'm going to ask you for what did you take with you today. My announcements are immediately after this service, we are going to have non-broadcasted small groups. So if you want to stick around, please do that. We will have 2 different politic rooms happening today again. One is the angry politics room. And that is not hosted. So if you find yourself in there with someone else, just start a fight. And then there's just a regular politics room that Jeff, you're willing to sit in, but it's not for the angry people. We have a poetry room, and we have a chit chat, and am I missing a room? Oh, and deep dive. We have a deep dive if you want to go further deep into some of these topics. I do feel, as of always, it's important for me to make this announcement. It's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not feel okay. And it's okay not to be okay. This is a rough time of year. And even if it weren't a rough time of year, life's hard. And there are times you're going to find yourself in the struggle bus. And there are times you're going to find yourself in the luggage compartment of the struggle bus. And that's real. That happens. Seek out some support. And if you can find some compassion within yourself. You don't need to beat yourself up when you're having a hard time. Other announcements, if you would like to still like to help Religion Outside the Box in calendar year 2023, and you can, please go to rotb.org/donate and be of help. I just did realize that it should not be rotb.org/donate. It should be rotb.org/help. So I'll change that because that sounds like a better thing. And let's move. Christina, you have an announcement or something to add?
Yes, please. The Shekinah group usually meets at Sundays, but this week, as this is the New Year weekend, so we are going to meet on Tuesday at 1:30 a.m. Pacific time. So
PM,
if you would like to join us,
PM,
please.
1:30 in the afternoon.
PM. I'm sorry. Yes, PM.
Wonderful.
Or it would be in the night. Yep.
Thank you for doing that. And if you, we also have a 12-step group that people come together to. You can go onto the Facebook group, or not on the Facebook group. Bad Rabbi, wrong place. If you go to rotb.org and you find the clubhouse. I don't have the clubhouse slide up here, but if you go to rotb.org, actually not if, go to rotb.org, find the link to the clubhouse, log in, and you'll see there's a facts page, and it can help you to find all the different groups that we run and all the different things that are going on. Okay. We talked about a lot of things already this morning, my friends.
I was just going to say, it went really fast today.
We haven't done the prayer list.
Oh, we're going to do a prayer list.
Thank you, Maria.
Maria?
Thanks.
Hey, I have a question. Maria?
Yes?
Are you able to read the names of people for whom we seek love and light?
I am.
Okay. And also, remember that thing I said about there's no lesson in algebra? This is all a lesson in humility, and we all make mistakes. So thank you, Maria, for pointing that out kindly.
Humanity.
These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Patty in spirit and Ray, Rita S., Greg, Anne, Rob B., Sheridan H., Randall M., M., J., and R., Bruce and Mary Lynn Hayes, Barbara C. and Debbie, Karen, Sandy, Bill, and Sean, Michael Watkins, Barbara Wise in spirit, Mary Ellen, all the people who are lonely and sad, Nick and Julie Olson, Steve Fetter family, Jen Dobbs, Jason Padilla, Sherry G., Candace and Kiddos, Ken Gerver, Ida Byrne, Karen M., Maggie and Shmuley, Frank DeToma, Uncle Danny Sullivan in spirit, Esther Sullivan, Frank Wolf in spirit, Mary Wolf, Raina Schild, Sakina and Aladad and their coming twins, and wish for peace in our hearts and peace in the world. If there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
And we're going to take a minute at a time to keep these people in our thoughts. Well, thank you all for the minute. What are you taking with you into the new year? What's the little bit of wisdom that you're going to start, Jen? You're going to bring with you something that you took from today's service, a little wisdom nugget that you could write down and it would fit on a card. Would you mind sharing with me something that you have so that other people can be reminded of this is something that they want to keep in mind as well? Go ahead, Harold and Connie. What are you keeping in mind?
Well, I am taking away that I need to get the cleaner out. I need to get the dust rag out and put it in my brain and work on getting rid of some bad things that are in there.
Fantastic. A little
Sweep it out.
spring cleaning. Yeah. Go ahead, Missy.
But taking time for myself is a holy act.
Amen.
Yes. Amen.
What else you taking with you? Go ahead, Jack.
When we sacrifice ourselves, it's sacred doing.
Amen. Not to sacrifice ourselves. What else you taking?
Fighting reality.
Fighting reality. You can do it, but you lose only 100% of the time. Go ahead, Ray, and then Lee. Lee? Ray, I don't know if
have
you're
love and compassion for all, even in the most difficult of times.
Love and
Yes.
compassion for all, including ourselves, even in the most difficult of times. Go ahead, Lee.
Ketchup equals fruit smoothie.
Everyone gets what they get, you know, that's all fine.
Seriously, though, it's okay to not be okay. I get that from every meeting. So
it's okay to not be okay. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. All right, folks, let's take a moment, wave to the people on the screen, and let's say goodbye to our lovely friends on Facebook land. And Maria feels open up